neural feedback loop was burning her mind alive. Empress Valerius tasted blood, her vision swimming as the hull buckled under the Void Swarm's assault. Her ancestral armor, the divine Aegis, had locked down. She was paralyzed. But down in the maintenance trench, knee-deep in pooling coolant, was the human, Leo Vance, a captive, a grease-stained primitive tearing out sacred crystal relays with crude pliers. He wasn't chanting the rites of the machine seers. He was cursing at the console in plain English, and the unknowable relic of the gods was listening to him. Truth is, they had always thought humanity was a cosmic afterthought, a noisy, fragile species barely out of their cradle. Valerius had kept Leo around simply because his hands were small enough to clean the plasma manifolds. She never expected a captive engineer to read the galaxy's greatest secret right off a diagnostic screen. It started 3 cycles ago, before the swarm broke the outer perimeter. The Aegis was failing. For centuries, the Kalan engineers had treated the armor like a holy artifact, layering intricate, exotic crystal matrices over every failing circuit. They replaced parts blindly, never understanding the whole. Leo had been sweeping the armory floor when the royal artificers finally admitted defeat. The suit was dead. The quantum matrix was suffering from catastrophic degradation. Valerius remembered the exact moment the human dropped his broom. He didn't bow. He didn't avert his eyes from the Empress. He just walked right past her royal guard, wiped a grease-smeared hand on his jumpsuit, and peered into the open chassis of the god metal. He laughed, a harsh, breathy sound that bounced off the polished bulkheads. The Kalan biology was incompatible. That was the secret the humans saw instantly. Valerius's ancestors had spent generations forcing their neural pathways into a system that was violently rejecting them, causing compounding stress with every activation. The armor wasn't failing because it was old. It was failing because it was trying to adapt to the wrong species. Before the guards could raise their rifles, Leo reached into his pocket. He pulled out a spool of standard copper wire. It turned out, sometimes the most advanced alien technology in the universe just needs a human mechanic with some common sense. He didn't try to replicate the intricate, impossible designs the Kalan had used to patch the suit over the millennia. Instead, he ripped them out, all of them. He understood the original design intent, tracing the routing lines with a calloused finger, bypassing the damaged exotic pathways entirely to restore core functionality. Simple, direct. The heat radiating from the armor's core had warmed the cold air of the bay. Valerius had watched, mesmerized by the quiet rhythm of his breathing, the electric spark of metal meeting metal under his crude tools. Dimion reverence for the armor. It was shock. The sacred runes carved into the primary drive weren't the language of the gods. They were warning labels, in plain English. And now, with the command ship tearing apart around them and the swarm breaching the inner airlock, that simple truth was the only thing keeping them alive. The outer airlock. Blue. Claws sheared through the Durasteel bulkheads. Valerius couldn't blink. The neural feedback was a white-hot spike driving into her skull. She was dead. The Empire was dead. Below her, Leo didn't flinch. He just twisted the raw copper wire around the primary manifold and clamped it down. "Move," he grunted. She couldn't. The armor was a tomb. "I said move." He slammed a greasy palm against her chest plate. The system rebooted, but it wasn't the slow, agonizing grind she had endured her entire life. It was instantaneous. The HUD flared to life, stripping away the ornate, useless Kalan targeting reticles. Sharp, clean lines replaced them. Green English characters scrolled down her periphery. She pushed. The armor moved. It didn't fight her. For centuries, her people had layered heavy, crystalline processors over the suit's core. They forced a brutal adaptation, trying to make human tech speak Kalan. Leo had ripped it all out. He brought it back to basics. He let the system breathe. A swarm drone lunged through the breach. Valerius raised a fist. The servo whined a pure, high-pitched hum. She punched. The impact shattered the drone's armored carapace into jagged shrapnel. No lag, no neural burn, just raw, unhindered kinetic transfer. More drones poured through the smoke. She didn't think. She reacted. The Aegis moved like a second skin. She fired the arm-mounted cannons. The recoil was a solid thud against her shoulder, absorbed perfectly by the dampeners Leo had realigned. She tore through the boarding party in seconds. Shell casings clattered against the deck. Then she linked with the command ship's macro cannons. The interface was seamless. The targeting matrix, freed from its degraded crystal prison, calculated the swarm fleet's trajectories with terrifying speed. She fired. Out in the black, the enemy ships ruptured in brilliant, silent flashes of light. The siege was broken, quiet, settled. Just the steady thrum of the ship's generators and the hiss of cooling metal. Valeria stood amidst the wreckage. She looked down at the human. He was wiping grease on his pants again, entirely unbothered by the carnage he had just enabled. Truth is, the Kalan had spent millennia praying to the gods of the machine. They built grand temples to the precursor race, and all this time the gods had just been busy trying to survive in the dirt of Terra Prime. She deactivated the helmet. It folded back into the collar. She stared at Leo, the sweat on his brow, the dirt smeared across his cheeks. A primitive, a captive, a god. The translation, she breathed, her voice trembling slightly. The sacred runes on the drive core. Yeah, Leo said. He tossed his pliers onto a workbench. It says, warning, do not over-torque. Property of the United Earth Expeditionary Force. Valerius closed her eyes. The revelation was a physical weight pressing against her chest. Humanity wasn't a fledgling race to be conquered. They were the architects of the cosmos, suffering from their own grand amnesia. She stepped forward. The heavy boots made no sound on the deck. We have been searching for the mythical cradle, she said softly, staring into his tired eyes. Ethelgard, the ruined world of the ancients. Leo frowned. Earth? No, Valerius corrected. The world before Earth, the one your people left behind. She knelt. The empress of the Kalan Empire, bowing her head to a mechanic. You are no longer a captive, Leo Vance, she declared. The hum of the newly awakened Aegis echoed her words, a steady, perfect rhythm. You are my chief advisor, and we are going to find your home.